Sorry, I was. Hi, welcome to Securing the Future AI-powered product and application security explained. Your go-to podcast on how AI is transforming cybersecurity. I'm your host Kumar AS. Today, we will explore how AI is reshaping the product and applications landscape. Right. A special welcome to all tuned to Power of Knowing Forum and CSA Bangalore Chapter CXO Insights, a women leadership special, episode 223 on LinkedIn Live, as we celebrate Women's Leadership Month this month in 2025. We hear about her voice, her power, her story, her impact. We have honored to have Ashwini Siddhi, OWASP Global Board Director and Women in Cyber Advocacy, joining us today. Let's dive into the topic and welcome Siddhi to the platform. Hi, Ashwini.
Hey,
Welcome to our
Prem.
podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
Sorry for the delay. There was a technical thing and we got delayed by 5 minutes. Let's dive into the topic. Ashwini, you have worked on intersection of AI and cybersecurity. Can you share a pivotal moment where you realized how AI could truly revolutionize the product security and what lessons did we learn from those moments?
Yeah, so product security as such has been very highly dependent on tools, right? I mean, we do threat modeling, so we probably want a tool. We do code reviews, we want a tool. There was this dynamic application scanning, and there was pen testing, and also a lot of these aspects are dependent on tools. And if an organization could not afford these tools, right? They obviously come at a cost, these licenses and all. Then it meant building your own tools. It meant investing your own resources to build this or do something manual around it, right? It was very time consuming, and it was not very effective or efficient either, right? You're reinventing the wheel, and still at the same time it's not very efficient. It's not the desired outcome that you're looking for. So there was a gap as such within the industry in these aspects, and nobody honestly at that point in time tied back product security to artificial intelligence as such, right? And when it came out with a big bang, and it was always there existing, it's not that it wasn't, but most of them were so focused on cloud security with the move to cloud and AWS and Azure and all of these things, right? Security industry as such never really focused on artificial intelligence. And then the chat gpt thing happened, open AI thing happened, and that's when people started talking about it, and there were n number of articles talking about what could go wrong with AI, right? How there could be malware with AI, how ransomware groups could use this to ensure there are quicker attacks, and even before we realize, like a cat and a mouse game, right? So even if you used AI for detection, they would still be ahead because they are also using AI, right? So cat and a mouse game. So everybody were talking about what could go wrong with it, but I've always believed that security is an enabler, right? It's not a blocker to anything that you do. I mean, if we uh, in that strict and ideal sense, we would have to be concerned about banking going online, right? We would have to stick to paper banking, go to the bank, get your money or transfer it to somebody. But how convenient it is to have online banking. So it's just meant that build security around it and ensure that this new capability is being used to serve and drive human progress. I thought it's probably the same with AI, right? And if it can help drive other aspects, other industry aspects, other domains, why not security, right? I mean, yes, there was generative AI which could probably generate results on, okay, do threat modeling for an e-commerce platform, and it would give out results for me. And now with progress from uh, gen AI to agentic AI, right? The next step, it means that you can actually build specific agents for specific actions, right? I want a threat modeling agent, I want a code review agent.
There seems to be a technical thing. I'll bring her back. I think there was a technical issue there. We are back, Ashwini. Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know where you lost me, but then yeah. So there was a gap, and I thought this AI could fill that in, and it's more to do with innovation and not thinking in the strict sense of operations. A lot of people look at security as an operational thing, right? Numbers, how many threats did we stop, how many products did we ensure was securely developed. But it's beyond that, right? Security is also engineering, it's innovations. What That's where I think AI comes into the picture, and that's when I realized, okay, there's a great gap, and I think we can do so much about it.
You're right in as many words that you said, right? So AI has become an enabler today rather than being a bottleneck to most of the things, and we are doing speed the business at a large scale, right? And
Right.
with this, for businesses and product teams just started to adopt AI for
Hmm.
security, what was the most common security blind spot or a pitfall they should have been aware of avoiding a costly mistake, right?
Okay, so so when we're talking about this question, I am assuming you're talking in terms of using AI for security engineering, right?
Yes,
And
correct.
there are two aspects when we talk about AI in terms of security. One is security for AI models, and anything built on AI, right? So that's a different aspect. I'm not talking about it altogether. I'm talking about this much less looked into aspect of AI for security engineering itself, right? Yes. So I don't know how many organizations have done that already, right? I think it's still something that they have to start doing. But I can say that the probable or most common pitfall would be that assuming that, okay, I give some prompts, do some prompt engineering, and I have everything right there and displayed for me, right, as an answer. It's not so simple, it's not so easy. I wish it were, or maybe in the future it will be. But what happens is that you will probably have to fine tune, right? I mean, your models can also hallucinate, so you, after a while, so you don't want that to happen. And your answers and results have to be relevant. So what do you do for that? And what works for one organization might not work for another organization, because each organization is different. Maybe one is an oil company, one is an e-commerce platform, and one is a hardware company, right? So you'll have to fine tune these things to suit your specific organizational needs. It means that you'll need to have specific rags which are very aligned to your organizational goals, right? So if you're building, say for example, code review tool, I wouldn't say tool as such, maybe it's automatically generating tools for rules for your scanner that you've built. AI is generating these rules. So is your system based on Rust? Is it based on PHP? What, right? Based on that, it'll need specific inputs, and there are specific language related security vulnerabilities or issues that it can call out, and that you'll have to be mindful of. And let's say you're doing a threat modeling activity using AI itself, right? I mean, what use is if it just provides a list of threats which are from the internet, or which are very generic in nature, right? It's not going to help you. Probably you've already taken care of it because you, as engineering team, have done some security champion training, and you're well aware of these basic security principles. But what beyond that, right? There are elements to security which are just not basic, right? It is defense in depth. So what would you do with such things, right? So you'll have to say like, okay, I have an e-commerce platform, I have such specific security controls already implemented in the organization. So don't show me these threats, but uh, you know I have such technological stacks, so you give me results around these elements only, right? So you need to fine tune your uh, system, AI system, to make this happen, right? So that will take some work, that'll take some effort. So you'll probably need to invest in an AI engineer, somebody who's good with prompt engineering, right? So planning for it, the resources, the time, the bandwidth, it maybe even investment for a resource, as to it's a rec that you're creating, right? So that is a blind spot most people miss. They just assume, tell one of the existing engineers, please go do this. It's not going to happen like that. You'll have to invest in it, and it's a curve. Obviously you will get there eventually, but before you get there, there is work to do. It's not a magic wand. That's a blind spot.
Yeah, I got that. As you say, is every model has to be trained before it becomes a value for the organization. Like, it has to have the right resources, right people put around it and bring it to a shape. That's what I think you are.
I wouldn't say trained as such, right? I mean, I would say yes, it needs some amount of, say in layman terms, hand holding, right? So some inputs as rags and personalized libraries and some documents that you can provide it, which it can read through and understand. Yeah, so I wouldn't call it a complete training, but yeah, some reference would certainly help.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
in your experience, what would be the biggest barrier to AI adoption in protecting application security, and how can leaders bring that gap to a smoother integration?
Okay, biggest AI, yeah, that's something
Adoption.
that I've not really thought about, right? Because I personally very excited about AI and to work on AI itself. It's something new, it's
Mhm.
something exciting. After working in security for so long, yeah, there's something new. Let's get on to it, kind of a thing.
Okay.
But yeah, what could be the biggest? Like I said, right? I mean, you'll have to invest in it to make things happen. So probably that is some sort of a blocker, and a lot of them believe that. Security is not engineering, right? It is an operational thing, right? So there'll be people driving efforts in terms of how many vulnerabilities we closed and these things, how many incidents we stopped, kind of a thing. But did we develop something, did we create something for the future? I don't think a lot of companies do that, right? So that is a mind block. I would think it's a culture shift, it's not a technological problem. I don't see any gaps there. It's a culture shift, it's a mind thing. I think that'll take a while to get there, right? Like, let's say, okay, let's have some engineering effort around that. And it will also mean that as security engineers, you just can't say, I will look at a specific tools report and get teams to close it. I will give them mitigations on how to close it. That's not going to happen, right? Maybe you'll have to be very good with prompt engineering too. So you're just not limited to your security knowledge. You'll have to gain that knowledge in terms of AI also, and that'll take a while. That'll also mean investment in it. Maybe you'll have to take up courses. Maybe that'll cost something. Is your leadership willing to pay for that? I think these are the gaps that I wouldn't say it's a blind spot, but these are issues that we'll have to work around. It's a culture shift. So the culture, I think, is going to be a problem.
I think the adoption culture to product this one, because when you look at product, the duration to build a product and the integrating security
Right,
is going to be a challenge, and that needs a buy-in from the management as well when we look at
right,
the
yeah.
product being there. Now, looking at 5 to 10 years ahead, how do you see AI evolving as a in the product security space, and what are some emerging trends that companies should start preparing for now for specific to product security? Because now with privacy coming in all the countries across, right? So you
Yeah.
have CCPA, you have GDPR. Now India is coming with DPDP. A product has to look at security in compliance also to be added to that, right? So
Right.
your take on how AI is evolving into the product space, security
Yeah,
space.
so I think AI in the future is probably going to eliminate entry level and intermediate security engineers roles.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's going to take away design folks, architecture folks, and somebody who can execute security things, but it is going to um, take out some of those jobs. Because how I look at AI in the future is, you have code in your GitHub repo, let's say, for example, and there's Copilot, right? It's already gives you prompts on how best you can write your code itself, and it's already there for you, right? So it's also going to evolve into security. So it's going to start saying, okay, this is not secure while you're writing. I know there are plugins with the Vera Code and all of them tools, but if it's already provided in the repo that you're using while you're writing code, right? Why would somebody use an external uh, vendor for a specific security aspect, right? So it's going to be really hard for these vendors, I would say. And there's a possibility that we completely eliminate use of static code analysis. I already see dynamic application security scans not really being done because there are burp suite extensions. So it's about integrating it into the repo and having built-in capabilities that while the code is being written itself, that there are issues that are being called out. And the same goes for threat modeling. I think it's you don't have to like draw a diagram, you don't have to then get onto a threat modeling call and find issues, or you don't have to spend money on threat modeling. What's going to happen is, if you're on the cloud or even otherwise, right, there's going to be a capability wherein it's automatically generating some sort of a data flow diagram for you and already giving out the threats. You just maybe with a click of a button, or just go to a tab and say threat analysis, and all that data is already there. You don't have to do it specifically, right? So I think that's how it's going to automate product security for us. It's going to eliminate a lot of manual effort. uh, but I do want to say, for traditional threat modeling experts, right, they're going to come back and say, but you can't take out the manual thinking aspect. I agree with you. We cannot remove the manual analysis part, especially in threat modeling. Code review, yes, to some extent we can, but threat modeling, not really. But the low level threats, the low hanging fruits, and even common patterns for specific architectural templates, I think it's going to be taken care of. So it's going to give us so much more time back to do other things. Is what I think, and we really need to be on our feet to evolve and uh, catch up on things around security. We might not have to do these manual works in terms of reviewing reports and reviewing analysis and reviewing code or reviewing the design diagrams. Another aspect with product security that I really want to call out, which we miss talking about, is at a program level, right? You as a product security team, you engage with n number of engineering teams within an organization, different products. So there has to be a way of driving, okay, how many critical, high, medium issues were found for which release, were they fixed, and what are they going into production, for what reason, is there an exception, blah blah, right? It's common SDL process across all organizations, nothing specific to an organization. But how is that done, right? Do you have a specific tool for it? Is it manual? Is it a spreadsheet? A lot of effort goes around that, and you have a specific team handling these numbers itself. Do you want to invest in all of that? No, right? So if you had AI, probably there's something to do with your dashboarding, with your metrics and KPIs, that can talk the language of the board and send out those numbers to them. I think it'll step into that aspect also, and it's going to take out the manual element in terms of KPIs and metrics and dashboarding also. So to conclude, I would say AI in the future would eliminate most manual aspects of reviewing stuff, and initiating it by ourselves. Right, it's already going to be done. It's just about going for KPIs and metrics and dashboard. That's how I envision. I might be too optimistic, but it's not something that is unachievable. I think it's certainly doable. I I think we should be able to do
100%. I
that.
think what you said in as many words is there would be incident management which will be automated, right? And there are so many models that you look at, seeing automation there. You don't need the mundane people looking. Monitoring would be automated in terms of looking at how it can look at
Right.
what kind of decisions can be taken, and where should the human interface needed to be taking a decision review and stuff can be looked at. I completely agree on what you're saying on with your pointers. Now with
So I
AI,
have another point to it, right?
yeah,
So it's
yes, yes.
probably not just monitoring, right? I mean, for example, if you look at, I mean, I'm just talking in terms of developer velocity, because I'm assuming a lot of developers would be listening in, right? So say you have found an issue, but do we have to go back and correct it manually, right? Maybe low-lying issues, AI can correct it automatically, right? So it can use something called as a code propensity and decide if it can be corrected by itself or not, and then decide to go ahead and correct it, right? So not just monitoring, even mitigation, some of it can be handled by AI, and that's going to increase developer velocity, engineering velocity, response velocity, and all of these things. I think, yeah, to some extent, it's also going to help with how we mitigate stuff in security.
No, yeah, there are very many things that AI can help us in eliminating the mundane things. That's what
Right.
we understand from all the pointers that you've been giving us today. And with that, with AI growing in the role, AI growing role in the security, what are some ethical considerations should leaders keep in mind when deploying technologies, especially in customer facing products, right? So we don't know what is the challenges that the customer has from a security standpoint, and what are they having looking at this one. See, example, what I see is if a product needs to be specific to, just giving you an example, please correct me if I'm wrong, if the product has to support a European market, how do we
Hmm.
look at that customer facing point? That's what I would like to understand from you. What are the ethical considerations that leaders keep in mind?
Okay, so yeah, so I think when we talk about AI and considering that we're engineers, a lot of times we're just so focused on the technical aspects of things, right? We are like hallucination, model is hallucinating, and blah blah, and all of those things, right? I mean, the ethical considerations of AI, especially. Which is very cultural in nature. It depends on the kind of website that, a kind of product or system that you're selling into the market, right? So it depends of something like that, right? So if it's an e-commerce platform, and if there's something that shockingly doesn't align with the cultural values, and AI thinks that's okay, I think that has the interest, that has the potential to not just hurt sentiments, cultural sentiments, religious sentiments, but in certain sensitive nations, it also has the potential to create disruption. It has the potential to create riots, those kind of things, right? We've seen it happen before. Technology. I mean, somebody on X or something, post something. I mean, off late, right? I want to talk about Grok. I'm not making a political statement. Grok obviously is AI thing, right? Everybody is talking about some of those comments, some of those responses by Grok are not taken very well by certain section of the society, right? So it has potential to turn into riots and much more bigger and political implications, right? So it's very important to be mindful that your AI solutions have to be aligned to the geographical considerations, the cultural aspects, and not have that biases, and not look at everything. I know we are in the world of globalization, but not look at everything in one lens, right? That is something that we'll have to look at. There are specific teams for AI ethics, which is unfortunately not in security. I would love for it to be part of security too, but yeah, so there's a specific team that takes care of it, but it's something that not all organizations still have. They'll have to start aligning to it. It's because they probably, it's like security, right? What security was like in 90s, software security, right? So it's like that. Not everybody thinks they need it, but you don't know when you might need it, right? It's better to be safe than sorry. Same goes for security, same goes for AI ethics, right? So that's not looking at the entire globe in one lens and be sensitive to cultural aspects, I think, is one thing that we'll have to be mindful of in terms of AI. I can't hear you again. Prem.
There's something which is kept putting my mic on this one. There's some technical glitch which is going there. I'm not sure. I will have a check on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I hope that was the answer you were looking for. I mean,
yes,
I
yes, I definitely yes. That's
got
the answer.
carried away with the ethics and things like that.
That's okay. See, as far as we are able to say that these are the pointers that we are looking at, and I think your pointer has clearly mentioned that where it can have a challenge when adoption goes into a mess, and it can create disturbances across society is what you have been telling. Now, with many organizations face internal resistance while implementing AI tools,
Hmm.
how can leaders overcome this resistance while they make sure teams stay aligned with the company's goals? Because we'll have to really look at the company goals to be tracked properly, right? So that becomes, oh sorry, there is some issue. Yeah, that has to be looked at. So how do you take that from that structure from an org?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about resistance to something new, it's not just AI, right? There are many levels to it. So there's also something called as the pyramid of resistance. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, right? There are
Yeah,
three
yeah.
different levels to it, right?
Mhm.
So at the top, it is probably because they don't understand it, they don't have the time, and also probably they think it does not align with their business objectives. At the engineer level, at the development level, it's like, okay, we're probably already burnt out. My plate is full, and
Yeah.
I don't need the additional burden of using a new tool or learning to do things differently. Very few people are really, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but not every day people wake up and say, I'm excited to do my job, right? So they're not willing to learn every day. So that's one thing. And there's also the middle senior management, and they're like between two layers, and they want to keep both layers happy. And yeah, so they have their OKRs to meet and things like that. So they don't want to deviate. Let's focus on, like a horse with those things, like they just want to focus on those goals, right? So selling your idea, whether it's AI or not, is how you sell it, I think, is matters most, right? You will have to cater to each levels of this pyramid of resistance. You will have to cater to the development and engineering folks, saying that, okay, yes, it's going to have a learning curve, but it's going to make your everyday lives easier after, say, a month or two. And maybe the middle management, you say that, okay, it's going to help us reach our OKRs in so and so fashion, in so and so time, right? Then why wouldn't anybody want to use it? And same, and then when you go higher up, and what drives them, right? I mean, you need to understand what is culture shift they're looking at. Is it just the business objective they're looking at? When you understand what the currency that is driving them, you talk in the same currency, right? And say, okay, this initiative is going to help me with your intention, right? It's your solution should help your management solve their problems, right? Only then it's going to be accepted, whether it's AI or not, whatever it is, right? So you'll have to tackle the pyramid of resistance one by one. It's not always easy. It's better said in theory on paper, but yeah, to the best of your capabilities, align
I
with
think
this pyramid of
that's a
resistance.
very valid point in terms of taking the buy-in, right, from the
Yeah,
management, saying that which tool can help. And I think the other way of looking also, once you buy in, the value has to be derived for each of the stakeholder. That
right.
makes a lot of difference when you start looking at adoption of AI. Is what I think what you are saying in as many words. Can you walk us through a specific example where AI powered security made a tangible difference in
Hmm.
outcomes of a product launch or a security incident?
Okay, so this is a very confidential thing, right? I mean, I don't think I can really give us very specific example. Uh, because I'm with product security, I can say that uh, threat modeling is a lot of is an effort, is time intensive. I'm not talking about incidents at all here. It's completely off the shelf. I cannot talk about it, obviously. And so I'll just give a generic
Yeah,
example with threat modeling. So yeah, so it's resource intensive, right? I mean, you as a security engineer cannot do threat modeling because you need somebody from the development team. You need them to give that context to the system that they're building, application they're building, and it's a collaborative activity. And doing threat modeling is not their priority, right? Let's say, for example, in any organization, not specifically one. So it's not their priority, so it's always like put to the last, and it takes about a month to do it, right? And especially if it is manual and you don't have a specific tool. So I think using AI in such a case, you know reduces the effort from, say, a month to about an hour. And that is like, okay, people's like, now, okay, it just takes an hour. Okay, let's use this. Okay, get our low level results, and let's do another 1 hour of discussion on top of it to find the high level organizational specific threats. And once we've done that, we're ready, we're good with threat modeling, right? So it's, as in, we've done the threat modeling, but we still have to go back and fix things. So what could have easily taken a month to do threat modeling, it can be done within a day. So I think that is an example that I would like to call out. And disclaimer, it's not specific to any organization as such, but it's a common problem.
I run this as part of my reason because we are not talking about anything specific to any organization or
Right.
any product. So this is pure on what we understand and what this is more a generic discussion as a disclaimer. Just wanted to keep the audience informed about this. As a leader, how do you foster a culture of innovation, ensuring your team remains focused on security in the age where AI outperforms regulatory frameworks, right? So you talk something, suddenly there is another prompt which says you can do this way also. The prompt engineering defines many of the things which can hinder the security framework. So how do you look at that, Ashwin?
Okay, there are two aspects to your question, right? One, you're talking about how do you get your team to be
Innovative.
motivated, innovative, right? So there's a very specific. I'm an old timer when it comes to such a thing, right? I mean, I don't believe in putting everything on my team's plate and overburdening them. I don't expect them to be 100% bandwidth, right? On 100% bandwidth, I hope they have like try my best to ensure that they have at least 20 to 10% of their time free, so that they are bored, and they can use that time to innovate. And then every time I connect with them, I'm like, okay, these are the operational aspects of security. Do you have an idea to solve this problem differently? Are you okay to be doing this all the time that you're here? Do you want to do it differently? um, what is that additional edge that you can provide to your own role, um, by outperforming or outdoing what you're currently doing, right? So it's about the conversations that you have with your team, how you sell the idea, and also giving back the time to them, so that they can get bored, can get thinking, right? So I mean, we are all used to being on our toes. When we actually sit down and have nothing to do, that's when we apply our brains and it's like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. It's an idea, right? So it's a combination of all of these things, about giving them that time, about having that conversation subtly with them, right? Not telling them directly, go do this, right? That's never going to lead to innovation. It's just leading them enough to ask questions for them to get the answers, and then get the ideas in their head, and then innovate things, right? I think that is the way you get your team to innovate. Otherwise it's going to be the cycle of usual cycle of numbers and security, and they're going to get burnt out easily, and they're not going to learn anything on the job, which is going to make them outdated, which is going to make you outdated as a manager. And it's a uh, not a win-win situation for any one of us, right? So that's how I get my team to innovate. It's a very personal way that I do things. I'm not sure if it's the right way or wrong, but that's how I do it.
No, I think with what you said is at the end of the day, results matter. So how you get your work done from the team is, and how you foster that culture of innovation is what we should look at. Now when you spoke about human centric, say,
Hmm.
how can AI and machine learning be designed to not only improve security but also more look at human centric, both from the user experience and the safety side. So how do you look at that, Ashwin?
So I'm not sure I got your question right. So how do we use AI to
AI and machine learning to be designed not only to improve the security, but
Mhm.
also look at human centric enhancement. That's what I wanted to look at.
So, human centric, when I'm using, let's say, a technology, how it can help me as an end user,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we see that a lot of those things, right? I mean, at least it has started off with AI chatbots. They're not great. I would say we have some really funny memes floating around about somebody went into a bank website and said that they lost their credit card, and AI chatbot was like, "That's awesome," right? Yeah. So getting the basics right, even if it is just an AI chat box, is one of the things. And yeah, like uh, uh, we want to target a specific persona, right? I mean, uh, in terms of, let's say we are selling specific products, you know what your end user base looks like, right? So you can use AI to sort of understand what the expectation of such user base is, and then use it to create or mold your product and services accordingly, right? So that's one of the things that you can use AI for. And also, we when we talk about security and AI, there's one other aspect that we overlook, is that as an end user, how does security impact you, right? We talk great stuff as an engineering team and organization, we put two factor authentication, blah blah, everything there. But how does that impact your end user? Maybe I can't see, I need glasses, and your OTP is, is like just a few seconds, and I cannot use it, right? And so I would rather use some other website rather than use your banking website, right? That's for an example. So using AI to understand behavior of your security, um, user experience, right? We don't talk about security user experience ever, right? So using that as an input to make sure that even though there are security controls, it aligns with the best user experiences also. I think a combination of that is going to be the differentiator in the market in the future, making things easy for end users, making things easy for all spectrum of users. I think that's one thing that we can use it for.
Thank you, that Ashwini. Now coming to the next level of thinking. Now we see we have startups or small teams without dedicated security divisions.
Yeah.
What what simple yet effective AI driven tools would you recommend for safeguarding their products in specific, right? They also do products, right? So how
Yeah.
do you look at that, please?
Oh, that's a big question, right? That's a loaded question. So there are many layers that they'll have to protect. I think firstly, you'll still need to have somebody who can respond to incidents, right? Like say something's in the news, some researcher reached out to you, bug bounty, so immediately get back, understand the root cause analysis. That's uh, still a lot of it has to be human to human basis. So that's something that somebody will have to do. Then there has to be a compliance aspect to it in terms of, okay, uh, which different compliances I need to align to, what are the requirements that go into. So maybe your compliance needs go in as security requirements. There's a specific security requirements tool that you have, or it can be part of your threat modeling tool. There are a lot of I mean, there are different levels, right? You need network security, you need GRC, you need incident response, um, you need product security, you need cloud security. And in terms of like tooling, there are different tools for all of these layers of security itself. But whereas when it comes to product security itself, I think you can use open source tools in terms of there is Stride GPT, which is AI based threat modeling, which is free, so you can use that. This code review, semgrep open source is something that you can use it, but there's nothing AI around it. There's something called a step security for your GitHub actions and everything. They claim to be using some amount of AI, so that's something that I can use. Yeah, but I don't think in pen testing, at least I'm not aware yet, there's any AI yet. But yeah, that'll be good. You can use something powered by AI for your pen testing also. Yeah, so that's it's a big question, right? It's a
Yeah,
topic.
I understand it is not going to be a one. The
Yeah,
question is fully loaded, and you need to look at the overall product's life cycle and see how threat management
yeah.
is to be looked at, right? And coming to the next pointer, I want to understand from you is how do you ensure the security of AI systems themselves? Because particularly given the complexity and the potential of vulnerabilities we inherit in the technology-driven driving them, how do you look at bringing themselves into the AI security space?
Um, Sorry, I how do we get the
How do you
security?
ensure that security of AI systems for themselves is the question, right? So, because the
AI systems
complexity.
for themselves. Yeah, I would say it's like ensuring security for any other technology, right? Like, yeah, so you have specific threats related to AI itself. So you ensure that these are taken care of. Any AI system has to typically go through your product security life cycle. It has to go through like a threat modeling. It has to go through like a code review. You will have to see that if it is hallucinating or not, or if there are any biases around it, and things like that. If there's prompt injection, all of these things. And yeah, there has to be some amount of testing, pen testing, what kind of inputs it can receive, and all of these things. I think it has to go through the typical product security lifecycle development. I don't think that would change for an AI system.
Okay, so what we are saying is that any system, whether it is a normal or an AI system, has to go through the normal
SPL
routine of
is
that.
what I would
Yeah.
call it.
So the framework of evaluating and approving for deployment becomes clearer there, and
Right.
that's what you are trying to say. How do you approach risk management while implementing AI security in new products, especially in industry where regulatory and compliance standards are continuously evolving, right? So you find new regulations coming up. So how do we look at that piece when we look at AI security?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's every day is a new day in terms of regulations for AI. So that's where having a dedicated compliance team or a GRC team really helps, right? Who can keep an eye out and also understand which markets that we are going to sell. So if it's Europe, that I'll have to align to EU and the new AI related laws that they have passed, and so get in the requirements and then see if you're aligned to that, and if not, have it on your roadmap, and then understand by when you can have it. So it has to match your release timelines when you're trying to target these markets, kind of a thing. Yeah, so I think there is no AI solution for this yet. I think this is still a human element to it, right? Somebody who can keep a watch out on these things. And in fact, some of the organizations I knew as and worked before, right? I mean, not just AI, right? So we worked with people who actually came up with these laws, right? So even before these laws were made public, you had a sort of bird's eye view of what things would like. It's so I think that helps. So having that connect in the industry, the networking in the industry to understand what's going to come in the near future, I think is going to help too. So that's not something AI can help you with, is what I think, at least not yet. It cannot predict what the future requirements are going to look like. Maybe it could
Even
give
the
you that.
AI models that are coming up are
Yeah.
changing drastically, right? So
Right. Yeah.
changes happening into the model. What we have today is not what we have tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So as this AI is becoming more sophisticated, how
Hmm.
we safeguard potential manipulation or attacks the AI systems, right? And
Hmm.
can we defend against AI-based attacks? Because I was talking to somebody on the cybersecurity space itself, where
Yeah.
you see AI systems are the hacking system attacks are 95% accurate, right? In
Right.
most of the cases. So, how do we protect our systems while this is getting sophisticated, Ashwini?
I think it's going to be a cat and a mouse game, like what it is already, right? You have AI security attacks, you also have AI security mitigations, and you have protections, right? So it's just about who gets the better of other. So it's always going to be that, especially with incident response, right? You detect patterns using AI, and you block it, and you mitigate it also using AI. So it's going to be a cat and mouse game with that. But what we cannot solve, or is going to turn out a bigger problem, is environmental considerations with AI, right? The use of hardware and energy, and already quotes going around saying, for results like this, for activities like this, we are burning our one planet trying to use AI, right? So that is a bigger problem. I don't think the threats that coming with the AI is really a problem. It is going to be a cat and mouse game, like it is. Nothing's going to really change around that aspect.
I think the pointer that you are mentioning is that it is evolving, and we'll have to be prepared to solve problems, look at enhancing our AI systems as well when we look at this one, right? Again, coming to the evolvement of the AI system, how do we stay ahead of the curve and maintaining security integrity? That is more important, right? Especially when the rate of innovation often outspaces the traditional security measures.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so security has to be a built-in thing, AI or not. So it's a race, right? I mean, who gets the best model out there, which one's out there first, and who has. There's also the first movers advantage that a
Yeah.
specific company has. So everybody wants to get there out first, and wants to have a differentiator. So in focusing on the differentiator and focusing to be there fast, I think everybody's really forgetting about privacy, security, and ethics. That's a mind shift. That's something that's why there are regulations, right? And that's why there are people speaking up on our behalf. And I think this voice that asks for such controls has to be louder. It has to come also from the security industry as such. More prominent voices need to speak up about it, and then and we'll have to call it out as a differentiator. How secure is A versus B? right? And if that is a differentiator, then people are going to think about it and maybe focus more on security. Currently, I don't think security is a differentiator. It is not one of the things that's topmost on any of these AI companies as such.
Now, with see, when we look at any adoption, the C-suite executives are worried about the costs of AI adoption for security, right? Now, how or what would you say are the most compelling ROI factors that should consider, especially for a long-term investment side or the cost parameter side? So, your take on it.
Yeah, so maybe when in terms of AI, right? So I would be like, okay, there would be a comparison around, okay, this is your current tooling, this is the cost that you're paying for licenses, this is what it's going to look around 10 years, this is the person or resource maintaining the specific tool, and this is the time taken to mitigate so and so, and you need X number of resources for it, versus, okay, with AI, okay, yes, there's an investment, I need this resource, but with so and so time, I probably won't need it because there's also no license, there's probably something inbuilt, and yeah, things like that. So it's basically math and comparison against all of these things, and also trying to make the point that it is a marathon, not a sprint. And maybe you think now in this current sprint or current month or current quarter, there's going to be an expense. But when you compare it in, say, 2 years or 3 years or even 5 years, there's going to be a vast, you're going to be saving a lot more. Budgets and costs with AI. So it is doing that math over a period of time and being able to sell that idea in terms of cost. I think that's what's important.
So we'll have to look at how the math works out and how the AI model is able to prevent and save resources, right? So in terms of
Right. Yeah.
ROI, so that's what you're trying to.
Yeah. Even when it comes to in terms of resources, right? In the end, that's also cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an X amount of money that is being allocated for that resource and train and all of that. But having said that, I mean, we are talking that we clearly know what's going to come next, right? It is not that AI in the next 2 3 years, we don't know, maybe it's something very drastic, something very unimaginable. So yeah, all of these are pretty hypothetical in nature. Yeah, so it's only a good, that's what I would say. I think it's good to wait and watch and go along the flow while
Yeah.
still planning and doing what we can do best at the given moment.
Yeah. Yeah. What role does empathy play in leading tech teams through AI adoption in security?
Oh, that's a good question. Nobody's asked me that. Okay, empathy. Yeah, so I mean, I believe empathy is like having human centric. People should be in the middle of anything that you do, right? I mean, whether you are selling something to a customer, the customer has to be in the middle of things, and everything revolves around him or her. And whether you're building something with a team, and even then I believe it has to be team centric, because your people have to be a priority. Only then things are going to get done. So whether with AI or not, I don't really see a differentiator. But yeah, so one thing that I could see empathy with respect to AI is that a lot of these um, manual jobs and mundane tasks can go away, right? So there's a potential danger to such people. So empathy in such terms for AI could mean that already preparing them that, okay, this could happen, so upskill, provide them opportunities for upskill and certifications, and put them on a path to something beyond those mundane jobs, and so that they can learn on the job. I think that is very important. So when you clearly see that somebody's role can be taken over by AI, I think to make them, I you don't have to scare them right away, right? But put them on a path and have a roadmap for them, so that you can build and get them on the other path, so that they are not affected by AI in general. I think that is where empathy would come in as a leader for when AI is involved.
I think with this, I have my final question thought around this session. As AI continues to shape the future of product security, how do we maintain human first mindset, ensuring the security advancement enhance both business and lives of using these products?
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations want to be AI enabled, right? AI first enabled. They're not looking to be human enabled. It's how the industry is. So I would think that okay, it's okay to be AI centric first. I mean, I'm not it's a very organizational mission or vision, right? Whether you want to be human first or AI first, right? But when they mean AI first, I think they're probably trying to have a company that is driven uh, by processes and tools and technologies by AI. But irrespective of that, what they're building, their mission, their vision has to be human centric, right? You cannot have an AI centric mission, right? So example, that can be a tech company like q-commerce, right? You have um, I don't want to name any q-commerce companies in India, but you have everything coming in from like 5 minutes 2 minutes, right? So the mission of them or the vision is that you're serving people at the end of the day, right? You're making their lives better. So that would still be human centric, but maybe this just driven by AI. So there are two aspects to how you want to get your organization driven, and no matter what, in the end it's going to serve a purpose, and that has to be human centric.
Okay, so with this, I think we
Yeah.
are good on top of the hour, and plus, I have two questions which have come in, which I'll bring it on to the screen. One is somebody saying that Leon from Reno Power Corporation here. We say hi, Leon. And we have Lokesh who has a question: how to ensure identity with AI? Secure my identity with AI, right?
Okay, that's again a big wide question, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe your identity in terms of what data is around you on the web. um, I'm assuming that's what you mean, or if that's in the case, maybe AI specific tool that can find your data online and then automatically remove it and send you the reports, or anything new that pops up in terms of your name, it notifies you, alerts you, and has the potential to expect around these times your data or something around you will be mentioned in so and so social media or website, and then try to protect things around that. So I assume your questions about protecting your identity randomly out there on the web. So that's how AI can help. But there are other aspects to your identity in terms of your organizational identity, your social media identity, a number of things, right? So yeah.
No, I think I'll add to what Ashwini said to Lokesh's question is that AI identity is going to be a PII information, right? So when you look at PII information, organizations take extra measures to see that name of the organization, the order numbers, your phone numbers, or your email IDs are not left unmasked, right? So when data is given to AI systems to read, I think critical PII information is masked, and their data is used for learning most of the topics, right? So that is what I think AI can do when we do the learning of this model to help you when it comes to identity location. I think that's the point that I would like to say, if that answers your question. And with this, I would like to summarize on what we spoke today on the topic of with Ashwini today. We spoke about some of the personal experience and lessons learned, pain points, adoption and challenges, future of AI security, managing ethical dilemmas, building trust with AI security, overcoming resistance to change, real world use cases, leadership in AI, human centric point, balancing automation and human judgment. Then we spoke about small teams where we talk about security for startups and small teams. Then we spoke about risk management where AI powered security, preventing of manipulation is what we spoke also, right? And then we say with the pace of AI evolution, how do we secure our systems, which we spoke about? What is the ROI that the C-suite would look at when implementing or deploying any AI systems. And we spoke about empathy in security and leadership. Then we spoke about something on the closing thoughts of AI and humanity, where we look at human first mindset rather than AI mindset, right? So I think that's the points that we have covered with Ashwini being here today. And we have some more questions popping up. We'll take them one by one here, Ashwini. What is the skill upgrade I should be looking to acquire from product security engineer to adopt for AI? That is Sean M.
Yeah, so you need to understand what different AI ML models are out there, which one is useful for what activity that you're looking for. Maybe something is good for quick responses for generic thing, but maybe you need something more intensive with the deep learning capabilities for something else, right? So, what is the objective that you're trying to meet, and which a model matches the capability? That's something that you'll have to learn, and you'll also have to learn about prompt engineering, how best to give a prompt, what is the a good prompt template looks like. And sometimes just a single prompt is not going to help you, right? You'll need multiple prompts. So how do you chain these prompts? Maybe it gives an output, and after that, based on the output, you need another prompt. So how do you do this prompting? Maybe there's prompt chaining involved. So chaining of these prompts is another aspect that you'll have to learn. And how maybe you'll also want to learn code propensity algorithms, to understand, okay, now my AI system is going to mitigate something that was found, but how is it mitigating? Am I comfortable letting AI automatically mitigate something, to take those decisions, understand code propensity, understand how it works? I think doing a masterclass on AI is going to help you with the most basics of all of these things. Yeah, some of the things that I called out is prompt engineering, code propensity, prompt chaining, all of these things. Yeah.
We have another question from Sampath Kumar. Since it's a large scale infra, the blast radius would be more if AI systems are compromised.
Yeah, I don't know what large scale infra you're talking about, but zero trust architecture is still important, right? Whether you're using AI systems or not. So if you have zero trust implemented correctly, I don't think even having an AI system should compromise anything. So
Okay.
security is always defense in depth, right? Let's not forget it. Just having an AI solution out there is not, it does not mean that everything else is not in the picture. It is defense in depth. Some traditional methodologies would still be in place, even if we have AI systems for protections or mitigation or detection or detection. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question, which is, since AI is being managed and driven by humans, so do you think in the future AI is going to overpower human involvement in ensuring smooth process of adherence?
Overpower, I'm not sure if I want to say that word, but it is certainly going to enable us better for smooth process adherences. And we might not have to write lines of code. If you remember, there was uproar that uh, there was coding classes for second standard students, and all that is not required anymore. So it's going to make lives easier. And yeah, it might also it probably create better models for us if we wanted to do in the future. uh, Overpower, I don't think so, but it's going to make things much more smoother for us. Yes.
Pramod, I think what AI systems will do, you made a very good point. Human involvement in ensuring smooth process adherence, yes, that is what it is going to happen. You will have, as Ashwini told in the initial conversation, is that AI systems are here to enable us to do work better and give back the time that we are overspending on some of the fixes that we want to do. That's the fix that we are trying to bring in as using AI systems. I think it is not going to overpower. I think it's the right questions. It is like asking the right questions to get the right answers, but the decision still remains human. So these
No, I
systems,
think his question can make a good movie, right? So maybe we have an AI system to protect our product, and it goes rogue and it sends malware. So
yeah,
that's, it's a good question, but with the right security controls, like I said, right, defense in depth, I don't think it's going to overpower. It's going to enable. So it's,
yes,
we'll have to remember our defense in depth principle.
correct. So last question that I have is, how do you secure this? I did one question.
Yeah, I think we sort of answered this. How do
Yes,
you
the
AI?
answer it's come from Sampath again, so that's okay. With this, I think we are on top of the hour. And Ashwini, thank you for being here. It's been great having you on the session. We had some technical issues in the mid where some of the Ashwini got dropped and my mic was not functioning. So apologies for that. And with this, I would like to thank the audience who've joined the session today. And we would like to say that we have streamed this podcast onto LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter again on and Instagram. I hope you found this discussion valuable. Thank you for joining us today. Our next podcast is the 224th episode that is happening tomorrow, where we are talking about creation. How do we architect the future of true wealth at 6:30 p.m. IST? See you soon. Looking forward to see you there again. Good day and bye for now. Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you,
Thank you.
audience.
Bye all.